Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got a book review for you today. Just finished Pierce Brown's book number 2 in the Red Rising trilogy, Golden Sun. This is a book that I picked up at a used bookstore. It was funny because the store specifically, for more modern books, if they show up, they're pretty much gone immediately. I walked in, saw this on the shelf, immediately grabbed it. There may or may not have been a person who also was looking to pick it up. So sorry about that. But I had read book 1 at this point, I think over a year ago. And when I came to book 2, I tried to think back to the plot and the story and the characters. I knew Darrow. I remembered Pax and Mustang from the first book. And I remembered the plot. I remember being at the Institute. I remember how it ends up. And I had a moment of consideration. I thought, I feel like I need to go back and read book 1 again. Because what Pierce Brown does, and I'll get to it, is he packs a lot into his books. And that's going to be interesting, a choice. But I decided, no, I think I got it. Let me jump into book 2. And I may have made a mistake with that, but I didn't want to have to reread it, especially because I knew how it ended, and I thought I'll pick it up as I go along. But let me give you a little bit of background about Pierce Brown. And again, the covers are just so cool. I mean, they're so cool. This is just like a guy book. Not to say that the gals can't enjoy it, but I just feel like Pierce Brown writes for guys that just go like, that's just so cool, right? And so, Pierce Brown is an American author. I knew that. I think I had forgotten that he is an American. I could have swore he was British because everything is so British in this book. So he does a good job to me of speaking with that voice. He's an American author who grew up in the States, moving around to a bunch of different places. His mom was a successful CEO of a couple of different companies, and his dad was a banker, so they were kind of mobile. He graduated from Pepperdine University, I think it's Pepperdine, not Pepperdine, in California, and he had studied and got a degree in economics and political science. And yeah, makes sense when you read these books. Economics and political science, that's kind of the main focus of the Red Rising series. And following his time in college, he did a number of jobs working for political entities, working for economic entities, really using his degree. But when he published Red Rising and wrote it originally, he was living in his political science professor's garage, so not necessarily extremely successful in what he was doing. He actually wrote Red Rising, book number 1, over a 2-month span while visiting with his parents where they were living at the time in Seattle, Washington. And so I've never written a novel. I've never written anything that large. And to just appreciate the fact that he put that together in 2 months with all of the research that I know he had to do, with all of the names and all of the consistencies and the cultural breakdown, that to me was very impressive. 2-month span, he wrote book 1. He had written 6 novels previously. I'm not sure if any of those are published, but he had faced rejection from over 110 publishing agents before publishing Red Rising. So he knows what it means to be turned down, to be said no to over 100 times. And to stick with it shows his consistency, his belief in what he wanted to do, and good on him for that. He is the recipient of the Goodreads 2014 Best New Novelist Award for Red Rising. And then for this book, Golden Sun, and the next book in the trilogy, he received the Best Science Fiction Novel Award by Goodreads. So, Best New Novel for the first book, Best New Novelist for the first book, and Best Science Fiction Novel for book 2. and 3. These have been received so well globally. In 2025, last year at the time of the recording of this video, he had sold over 6 million copies of the series. He's not just written this first trilogy, he's now published a second trilogy, and he's also worked on, I believe, a prequel almost kind of graphic novel, and then like a 6-part comic book series in the world of Red Rising. So this has definitely become his bread and butter, and he must enjoy the characters and the plot and writing what the story that he has worked to. So what is the plot of book number 2, Golden Sun? Well, Darrow is working to adjust to life within the civilization, within the culture, within the society. And of course, following book 1, he has now risen to a height that he could have only ever imagined, and because of his hatred for the Golds, would never have desired. But he's found himself in the good graces of Nero Augustus, the leader of Mars, of course, working under the Sovereign, who is the sovereign over the entirety of the solar system. And so he is having to adjust to life of not just being a ruthless fighter anymore. He's going to have to grow into managing others, to leading others, and to planning and administrating, which is something that he's going to have to work on. However, for the first half of the book, he is continuously undermined, betrayed, circumvented, right, by Golds who have been doing this a lot longer than he has been doing it. A major theme in this book is loyalty and trust. And Darrow begins by trusting no one, right? When he gets to the Institute, it is me, and I'm going to kill everybody, right? But even in book 1, he does make some connections, and that's heartbreaking for those that die. So he is not just calloused from his past in Mars, he's calloused through that really horrible time at the Institute in book 1 and everything that happened there. But from his time in book 1 to here, recognizing his own weaknesses, he knows that in order to succeed in his goal of tearing down the establishment, he is going to have to take help, and help from people who are well connected. He is going to have to make some deals with the devil in book 2 in order to achieve what he considers to be the greatest good, which is tearing down the society. That leads him to reconnecting with former allies. Of course, Nero Augustus, Roke, Victra, Lorne, Mustang, the Howlers. But no alliance is more important than the one that he makes with the Jackal. The Jackal, from his time in the Institute, is the son of Nero Augustus. Adrius is his first name, but he goes by the Jackal almost completely in this book. And the Jackal has now developed a solar system-wide media empire. Following Darrow's victory at the Institute, which, for those of you who maybe have not read it, please go read it. Don't watch this video until you've done that. But kind of as I describe, as an adult combination of the Hunger Games and Harry Potter, kind of jammed together, right? The Jackal has been ostracized for his handling and what he did to Pax in book 1. And the Telemanus family is calling in a favor for their loyalty with Nero Augustus, and they get the Jackal banished. Well, in his time in exile, he has developed, yes, this media empire that reaches every planet in the solar system and every moon with every planet. And so when he and Darrow decide to team up to become in charge, to rise to the top of the ladder, of course, they're not doing the same, they're not going the same direction, even though they are linking arms. Darrow gets access and gets presented to the solar system in a way that he never could have without that alliance with the Jackal. His victories, his conquests are now broadcast, and he must ultimately decide. The bigger his stardom gets, the bigger the target grows on his back, and the people that he's now working for, specifically Nero Augustus, against the sovereign, he needs to decide with the people that he's linked arms with, and in a very real sense, has begun to see them as people, not just as colors. He has to make a decision in this book. Is he going to follow his memory and his brain from what he knows happened by the golds? Or is he going to risk everything that he has worked to, that the sons of Ares have prepped him for to do? Or is he going to follow his heart and put trust in the people that he's grown to love, that they are more than their color, that they can actually change? If he can change, which he does throughout this book, can they change? And will he trust that what they have, though built on lies, can withstand it for the sake of humanity? That's sort of where we get in this book. There's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of backstabbing. But Darrow has to make the decision of how he's going to fight, with whom he's going to fight, and is he going to trust them? And for some of them, that means being honest. And that is something that he has to decide. I have a confession for you all because, well, you need to know. I was really struggling to get back into the series, right? Like I said at the beginning, man, there were so many names. I spent a lot of time early on in the book. There's a couple opening graphs. The first is with the colors, and it kind of gives you all of the colors and how they fit in the pyramid scheme. Man, I spent a long time reading through that, trying to connect names. And I think the issue with me trying to wrap my mind around all of the colors is that we don't really know people who are in all of these colors. As they pop up, if they're around the solar system, they sort of get mentioned and sort of something that they're doing, which makes you kind of go like, okay, why is a green doing that? Oh, okay, it's because they're programmers and developers of technology. What's the difference again between an orange and a blue, right? And so that took me a little while. And then our cast of characters, there are 2 pages filled with very technical Roman-sounding names. And so again, I struggled to get back into the series after my hiatus between book 1 to book 2. And again, I did feel like I should read it, but I jumped right into it. And for the first half of the book, I'm going to be honest, I was really struggling to connect with Darrow. I understood his motivation from what happened in book 1. Like, I got it. But like his how I perceived it to be arrogance of I'm better than these people, I'm smarter than these people, coupled with his constant failure in the first half of the book, to me was really tough to just continually feel like, okay, we've seen this before, we've heard this before. Another thing that I struggled with in book 2, and I felt like maybe this is just me, maybe I'm off base, but I looked through a couple reviews from book 2, and there was at least one, and there would have been more that really kind of said the exact same thing that I was saying, which was like, there's so much dialogue where they're just like discussing philosophy, or they're discussing strategy, or they're discussing the economics. There's so much telling that when they get to the showing, when Pierce Brown gets to the showing part, the actual action, it feels like there is so much jammed action into it. And so he just has like a ton of content in the book. And if you're not fighting or preparing for a battle scene or a battle montage, you have people that are just sort of like dialoguing back and forth, and they're talking about a whole lot of stuff. And to when he gets to the fight scenes, there's so much detail. So I was really growing overwhelmed. I was never gonna not finish it, but I kind of saw no development in the first half for Darrow. I saw some development in the golds, like Mustang, like Severo, who were supposed to be like the really monolithic characters who were only bad. So I was always gonna finish, but I struggled until I got to kind of the last quarter of the book. Then I got to see Darrow do something where he was confronting his past. And that made him extremely relatable when he finally opened himself up to the emotions that he was feeling. And I think that's probably what Pierce Brown was trying to do. So you may be watching this and thinking, well, duh, that was his point. And in that case, success, good on you again. But when he confronted his past, I thought he did it in a wrong way, story-wise, as part of the plot, but I think what it produced was more maturity and more realism about him. That being said, there were some things that I really liked in the book. I liked the political betrayal that this book is filled with. I like seeing Darrow grow in his care for his troops despite their color, right? And I sort of mentioned that he has to adjust, that these are people and he needs to relate to them as people, not just as colors. I like how he infused rebellious democratic ideas into what he did. When he would conquer something, he wouldn't just kill everybody. He would give them a chance to buy into him as their leader in a very democratic way, which rubs a lot of people the wrong way, specifically who want to be totalitarians themselves. I liked how he saw the downtrodden as people and gave them a chance to join him. And there's a couple characters that really show that well. The Blue that he lets captain his ship is a really interesting character. Ragnar the Stained, I thought, was probably the strongest part of the book to me. Darrow's connection with him and his treatment of Theodora the Pink that's been with him since book one. Again, it just kind of shows he is willing to bring colors into his leadership team, and it doesn't matter their socioeconomic, or in this case, caste system that they're a part of. I liked his relationship with Mustang in the book. I thought that was something that was a slow burn from book one that we finally kind of get some progress in book two, which I thought helped him develop. When he came to a point where he was going to accept what he had with her, that was also at the same time that he had to accept how he was going to view his past. And I thought this was pretty relatable. He very much has glorified his past. He has made it a perfect backdrop of what life used to be like, who people were in his life, specifically Io, to where he does have to confront it. He has to realize, you know what, they were flawed as well. They were not perfect like I have made them to be in my memory. And I think a lot of us probably deal with that in our lives, where the grass is greener on the other side, but the grass is always greener in yesteryear. We always want to get back to the good old days. If we could go back to the good old days, we probably would realize they weren't all that great, but we just are so nostalgic for what we perceive to be a simpler time. And Darrow has done that. And when he confronts his past, he puts it in its proper place with the proper perspective. And that helps him be free to move forward. And finally, I really like Severo's comedic element to the story, as well as his character development. I thought was really, really good. So again, still a ton of dialogue, a lot of difficult sounding names that have official titles, formal names, and nicknames. I just kind of wish we could have simplified some of the cast of characters. I think that would have helped me a little bit, and maybe with fewer characters we could have actually had a little bit more of continuity and like a normal plot progression. The color system is still taking me time to wrap my mind around. Again, there's a lot in here, and I felt like either element of the dialogue or the action was so much that my mind like really struggled to like breathe until the end, where I felt like the pace really slowed down. And then I was in. I got my people, I got how the colors were working because there was just less. So I don't know, maybe to me less is more. You can disagree, totally fine. One small thing, the language element, the explicit language, there's not a lot of spice in this book. We're all in book 2, we understand. But I feel like in order for Pierce Brown to show you that these people are bad morally, they have to kill people, right? And then they have to use foul language. And I think that's his way of being like, these are bad people. It just kind of feels unnecessary. And so, I don't know, I just kind of felt like that to me cheapened the power of the book a little bit, just because I feel like if people are truly sinister, if they're truly vile, they're above what everyone else is going to do who tries to be a fake tough guy. And I feel like language is one of those things where the fake bully, or just the real bully, but the fake, like real tough guy, is going to be saying a lot of things that try to make them overcompensate for their own lack of wit, intellect, ability. I wish his villains would use less language, because to me that would show a lot more control. And that's what I like in my villains. I like my villains to be very in control, very much I'm better than you in every single way, including my thought process and my vocabulary. So that's how I like my villains. So we'll see if that continues in book 3. I loved the last 40 pages of this book, and I could not put it down. I'm excited to see how Darrow reacts in book 3 from what happens at the very end of book 2. And man, what a twist at the end of book 2. Book 1 to me seemed like a complete story, right? We got through the Institute. I saw how it resolved. Book 2 very much is not a complete story. It needs book 3. And so that makes me really looking forward to completing this original trilogy. I gave this a 3 out of 5. You may be looking at me like I've lost my mind, but just how the characters and the amount of content and the disconnect from book 1 to book 2 didn't bring me back or bring me in originally. I put it right there squarely. For me, 3 is not a knock. To me, 3 means it was what it meant to be. That is a perfectly successful book. I'm going to need something to really pull me out of 4 and to pull me down to 2 or 1 up to 4 or 5. And I felt like the things that pulled it down and the things that pulled it up sort of off balanced for me. So 3 to me is where I'm going to put book 2 in the Red Rising trilogy, Golden Sun. Have you read it? What sticks out to you about this trilogy? Do you agree with sort of how I connected with the characters, the plotting, the pacing of the book? What do you like about this book? What do you dislike about this book? And then even something small, but the actual hierarchy. How does that hit you? Do you think that he puts enough into developing that? Or do you think he could really give us some actual main characters from the different colors? So let me know. I did enjoy the read towards the end, and I will be completing this series. So thanks so much for watching. If you're interested, you can like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to continue reading these books. We're going to continue talking about them, the implications. It's fun when these books bring up real world philosophical ideas. And something like in this book is, if you're going to change people, most of the time you can't beat them into submission. You're going to have to connect with them at a human level. And I think that was a wonderful truth that we got from this book. But thanks so much for watching. We'll get back together in the next video.